Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Dean Callan Show. This is a very serious episode where I've taken my entire studio to Teheran Elementary, which is a very serious bar where people are professionals. They're on time. They're here an hour before I turned up. Alex and Rudi, two of my favorite bartenders in the world, or well, bar managers, owners,
you
brand
say this
ambassadors.
to everyone.
What?
You say this to everyone, no?
No.
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 What are you talking about? Are you serious? Can I ask straight away, right, before we go into origin stories, what got the two of you doing this together? Was it just because, you know, you've worked together before?
Well, you need to ask him. You need to ask him.
Because I guess it's always nice to work with people that you feel good working together.
Yeah, people that you've like got past experience with are always going to be much better than someone completely brand new, right?
And I think it's also the beautiful thing about the industry where, you know, you're working with someone and then, you know, they start with you, I don't know, as a bartender, and 10 years down the line, they are your boss and you're working for them, you know?
That happens that's happened to me so many times.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I feel proud for you seeing how well both of you, seeing how well you're both done. And I've done nothing. I just drank your drinks loads.
It was an incredible journey, but now that I think about it, it's already 12 years ago, man.
Yeah. Oh, well, Artesian time.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, that makes me feel a little bit old.
Yeah.
Right, so speaking about shared relationships, working together, how did you guys come up? So I'll start with you, Rudi, your origin story.
Very, very simple. Grew up in the Venetian region, so close to Padua and Venice. Grew up making spritzers, mojitos in this club, okay, in the mainland, and then I switched the job to a day job, which means I was starting to make coffee, and then after that, that was pretty much it. Okay, I already saw the cocktail culture back then in the area, so I moved to London, and I had to work as a barback, as you know.
Yeah, the standard.
You know, yeah, but before I met Alex, you know, we just like in Notting Hill, close to the Montgomery place.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so we're just like pouring glasses of wine and, well, honestly, cleaning the toilets at the end of the shift in this restaurant. And then at that time there was Fabio working at the Montgomery place.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that passed along my CV because I wanted to get into the cocktail scene. Yes, Fabio La Pietra.
Yeah.
And he passed it along to Roman, and then Roman's like, "Hey, Alex, I got a CV for a position of barber you were looking for." I met with Alex, and the interview with Alex was very, very brief.
Funny because I don't remember it whatsoever.
Do you remember the interview?
No.
Okay. I remember that. That was very quick. I already met with the bar manager, the F&B. It's like, you need to meet, with the head bartender. It was Alex at that time. And it's like, so sit down here. I sat down at the table. The Artesian bar was completely empty because it was morning. And at a certain point, I heard like a loud kick on the door, like bang. And I see this tall guy walking in with 2 buckets of ice. It's like, all right. He dropped the bucket of ice and he had my CV in his hands, like, okay, so I need you here to run the back of the house. You need to bring me ice. Okay, you're not allowed to make cocktails at least for 6 months. Hours are very tough. We need to push hard, and I need you to stay here for at least 1 year. Is that okay for you? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. See you Monday. And see you. Okay, make sure you get your uniform done and ready. And this was the start of it.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around, huh? Efficiency.
Exactly.
Wow. And then from Artesian, you were kind of indoctrinated into the whole like bar scene and.
Well, I have to thank Alex, Simone. They taught me more or less everything that I needed to become the person I am.
The ice uniform.
Ice uniform, need to work here a year, hours are tough. Can you deal with that? Yeah, that's amazing. So,
yeah, cool.
Alex, what's your origin story?
Czech Republic originally, straight into the bars from as far as I can remember.
But you studied hospitality, right?
I did a brief stint, so I don't need to pay taxes. So I did that. I absolutely hated it, and I found it very. I didn't last a year, and I never finished any exams. I didn't pay any taxes, so it was good. And I changed a bunch of different countries, worked different places, ended up in London, pulling pints at Tettershall Castle, which is wonderful pub on a boat next to Parliament. Then I got for a few months job at Orrery, which is a restaurant in Marylebone Village.
I don't know.
And then there was this amazing new place designed by David Collins opening, which was the Artesian. So I applied for the job. The very same day of the interview, there was some cocktail competition, which I think Ago won. And I turned up to the job interview with ice, with the glasses, and I think they thought I was completely crazy. So like, you know what, he's passionate enough. Let's get him in.
Wow.
So pretty much my entire time in London, apart from after the time I left, is Artesian, Artesian, Artesian. And that's what pretty much everybody knows about me.
Wow. I remember the first time we met. The first time we met was at Artesian.
Correct.
The first time we met, Zdenek, I just arrived in London, and Zdenek was like, "Hey, come see my friend. He's legit." I was like, "All right." And he brings me to Artesian to meet you, and was like, "This guy." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Because for me, there's a way a person moves behind the bar that you go, that person can bartend. Do you know what I mean? They've at least been doing it for a long time. Like when someone moves with purpose. They're never picking one thing up, putting it back, doing something else, picking it back up. You know, in a build, you can see their efficiency and you can see their physicality. And I was like, yeah, this guy's a legit bartender. And then you shouted me the drink. You were like, it's on me. And I was like, oh, Zdenek's got the hookups. I was like so happy about it.
I done my first bartending course with Zdenek, actually. Yeah, you know that.
Yeah, the hospitality school. I said to Zdenek, I think we should sponsor the teacher that taught you both to bring him to Tales of the Cocktail and be like, this guy taught the best of the best of the best. Yeah, exactly. Right. So the origin story's done. Did we? No. Phone died. Whatever. Right. So you both got kind of storied beginnings, but I guess the first bars you worked that were kind of international. The version of the bar scene that we all kind of live in today was Artesian, right?
Yes, definitely. For myself, the whole bartending only really started in London. Whilst I bartended for all these years, for me it was just really only a way to get around, because I was very passionate. When I was growing up, I was very passionate about graffiti. So I've been everywhere bartending and doing my other passion. So for me, I only really got really serious about bartending when I got in London. Because when I came, you know, it was Charles Vaxena, the Lonsdale, Montgomery Place. You could go and see Dick Bratzel. It was like London was such a magnetic energy kind of place. Amazing. And it was so much insane stuff going on. So I was so thirsty, and every day you would go and learn something.
I was kind of the same. I started bartending in Australia. I went and did a hospitality course. I did a workplace training and assessment course, how to train people, because I thought when I get good, I'm going to need to train my staff, right? That's how arrogant I was when I was a kid. And then I did like a week-long cocktail course, which was just useless. And then I did a 6-week cocktail course. And the 6-week cocktail course was so funny because at that stage I'd turned 18. And I was buying like loads of booze. I always had booze in my house. I had a collection, and I'll never forget the guy doing the course was like, who can name 5 different brands of the same spirit right off the top of their head? And no one could. And they were like, well, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, because I was like always being, you know, yes sir. And it was bourbon, and I said Jim Beam, Wild Turkey, Maker's Mark, Knob Creek, Basil Hayden's, and Booker's. And I was like, should I keep going? And then he was like, there's no such thing as Knob Creek. And I was like, yeah, there is. No, there isn't. And I was like, oh, okay. And I had to name another one. But then there was no iPhones. We couldn't Google it. Right? So I go home and I get my bottle of Knob Creek off the bar and I'm like, cannot wait for Monday. That guy's going down. And the best thing was, loads of people brought printouts from the internet of like, they'd gone and researched Knob Creek because they were so convinced that I knew what I was talking about. And then my first ever bar job, I put all my certificates and papers down and they said, we don't hire people without experience. And I was like, no, this is the bar I want to work in. Well, you don't start here, buddy. You start in a shitty bar and you work your way up. And I said, I'll work for free until I'm better than the worst bartender here. And then they said, okay. And I worked for free for 2 weeks before they were like, give him some money. He's hired. But when I first come to London, I'd already established myself a little bit in Australia, established myself a bit in Ireland, went back to Australia, traveled all over Australia because I had a tick box. I want to work behind a pool bar, throw bottles around, and make pina coladas. I want to work on a boat. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to work in a 5-star hotel. I want to work in a giant nightclub. I want to win a national competition. So when I ticked all the boxes, I was like, London, I'm ready, right? I stopped off in China for 1.5 years before I come to London. But one of the things I did when I arrived in London, having won loads of competitions in China and Australia, I went straight into every competition I could enter. Because as far as I was concerned, 2 weeks in, I was in the 42 Below World Cup at Kalukale. And I just arrived in London and I was really arrogant and I entered a competition, got into Kalukale, and then stripped to my socks to the song Business Time. It's business time. And then I stripped down to my socks. And what they'd done, we were meant to do it to music or whatever, they decided they didn't have enough time to put all the contestants through, so they put 2 contestants on next to each other. So someone else was like, and I'm using this in my drink for this reason, and I'm like, it's business, taking off my clothes. But I figured everyone's going to know me. And then where do I go from there? So it got me a job, I got a job at Milk and Honey as a result, and 3 weeks into being in London, I had a Milk and Honey job.
Because this is how I remember you, was the dean who works at Milk and Honey.
So I used the competition as a networking tool to kind of establish myself as quick as I possibly could.
I think very much the same for us. When we came to London, so the competitions were very different. It was not, being a global champion. It was, and here you get a diploma, or and here is a magnum of whatever.
But I like that. If there was
applause,
yeah,
it was purely cred. There was no the only comps where money was involved was the flair comps.
Yeah, exactly.
And we could never do those. That's why we ended up in more serious things.
A little bit.
But I was really bad at it. That's why I ended up in mixology.
I remember the last competition that Alex did, because the moment that he stopped doing competition is the moment that we start to get work together at the Artesian, because then everything got very, very busy very, very quickly. And it was at what was the name? The Graphic Bar in Soho.
Oh, yeah, the gym place.
The gym place.
Yeah. It was run by Lee Linford and the original. Correct. And it was like a gym competition.
It was gym competition, and Alex was super dressed up, suit, tie, sweating already since the morning, practicing the speech. And then we went crazy because he had to pair the cocktail with the oysters. And that's actually been also my first oyster. Because before the competition, it's like, we need to taste if they're good. Here, shuck an oyster. Okay.
Oh yeah, because you were chucking oysters for me.
Exactly. And that basically was my second week knowing Alex. I like this guy.
Yeah, competitions are great for that. I was hoping that that I was leading in that direction so that we could establish that you'd met at a cocktail competition, and cocktail competitions are the place to go to meet people.
It still is today's. And from the competition that we were talking about, I think the world evolved a little bit, and now you have competition when you have real events going on with 100,000 of people. It became like a worldwide phenomenon, for the brands that can afford to do like a proper, global competition.
Well, they have trainings involved as well, though. That's one of the things I like about the competitions now.
Absolutely, it's much more lean to education and sharing.
To the point, yeah. Amaro Montenegro competition. What's the style of that? What's the deal?
So basically, first of all, we're very, very happy to be back live with it, because for unforeseen circumstances, we had to stop for a little break. But now, the deal is that we're back with our global competition called the Vero Bartender, and it's all about sharing the essence. So we ask the bartenders to create a sharing style cocktail, and also share their story, because we ask them to create a story behind the drink. inspired by a journey or a travel, because the guy who created Mar Montenegro in the very first place was an adventurer, he was a rebel genius. So he traveled around the world, and we asked the competitors that want to enter, the guys who want to enter, to recreate, actually to get inspired by a journey that they did all around the world, okay, or also like a journey that take me some places where without leaving the bar, for example, like a spiritual journey or something.
And so it needs to be a sharing cocktail. They're talking about their journey, and like you're trying to get the like rebel genius adventurer out of it.
Exactly, correct.
Because I when you said let's have a chat, I was super excited about it, and I wanted to tell the story of when I last used Mar Montenegro in a competition and make you guys the drink. It might not be to the right specifications.
Well, you can give it a go.
Yeah, is that all right? Can I get the tools? Right. So here's the story. So Australia has a Bartender of the Year competition, right?
Yeah.
And it's a big one, and you have to go through all these like knowledge rounds and all these different things, and you don't know if you're going to make it. So it's like 80, 100 people, and you do the knowledge test, and it cuts it down to 20. And then you do like a classics, I think maybe it's 30. You do a classics cocktail where you just get asked for a random classic and it gets cut down. And eventually it's 10 people. And those 10 people have to go on stage, right? Now, when I was going on stage, I had my cocktails planned, but I was told a few days before, and can I get the little glasses, please? I was told a few days before the competition. I was in New Zealand for 42 Below Cocktail World Cup, hanging out with loads of bartenders, and we fly from 42 Below World Cup on the Sunday, and the competition's on Monday. So you can imagine, like, a week of New Zealand drinking with, like, bartenders was pretty steamy. But there was a rumor going around that this industry legend, Marco Ferroni, who, have you ever heard of Marco Ferroni?
Of course, everybody.
All right. Marco Ferroni is a hero of mine, right? Marco Ferroni had been a judge for these competitions. I have no idea what the spec was for these competitions since the beginning. He won like the first 3 events back to back. And then he started the competition version to make it so that like, it was more fair. Anyone could win instead of having to just be popular.
Yeah.
And the year before, the guy that had won it, not going to mention any names, had won. And when you won the year before, it meant that you came back as a judge the following year. These are going to be a little bit shallow in the glass. And that person who was coming back as the judge the next year had walked into a bar that Marco had done 2 weeks training, met a girl who just had the 2 weeks training, and that's all she'd had. And he ordered a Negroni, and this is a story I was told, right? So it's second, third hand. He got an ice ball, and he put his finger in it, spun it around, and it spilled out on the bar. And he was like, what's that shit in my drink? I asked for a Negroni. And the girl started crying. And then Marco said to the organizers of the competition, this guy can't represent the bar industry, right? You can't have him judging because he's been so rude to his staff. And they chose him over Marco. So Marco pulls out of the judging. So I'm like, oh, Marco's not in the judging anymore? So I changed my drink and I called it a Ferroni. And then on stage, I was like, a Ferroni is like a Negroni. Everybody loves a Ferroni, right? And it doesn't matter if you've only been bartending 2 weeks. Ferroni will never make you cry, And the guy judging me was the guy that had done this. So it was suicide. There was no way I'm going to win this competition. But to me, it was like that the stage is given to you so that you can share who you are and what you're kind of about with the rest of the people that are in the competition. And they're going to be your peers. They're competing at the same time as you. You're all going to come up together in the industry, and they're still around, some of them. I wish someone had recorded that video, but can I get another one of these? Or maybe 2 more?
Now you understand why it's called the Dean Callan show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what were we talking about? Your competition. When do people have to actually get their...
Oh, well, right now, actually.
Right now?
Right now is a good time. Submission ends the 24th of July. And... basically, we are we're now live with 17 different countries around the world.
17?
Yes.
Oh, nice. So do you have to go to every final?
Well, not every final, but as many as I could do. But you remember, Alex, you came down to the final as well.
No, that's I wanted to tell everybody about the final, because that's actually it's actually the final is better than actually winning the comp, because you have this week-long, absolutely amazing experience. And just for the record, I did judge the global one. That's why. That's how I know it. I'm not good enough to competent to get to the final. But you have basically a week moving around Italy with a group of people from all around the world, learning all about the culture and sharing absolutely fantastic moment. So you go and visit the olive oil farm. You go to see winemakers. You go
classes,
to see
pasta classes.
Yeah, and like I think for me this was one of the most beautiful weeks I ever had. And it was so nice to share it with absolutely everyone from the global community.
As you were saying before, we try to give something back.
It's about sharing the culture as much as it is about sharing the drinks.
Exactly, and we try to make the maybe younger bartenders, they just started, they're in the final, learn something. Okay, so learn something about Italian culture. Or we also have, like Alex was there, we have international guests that comes down, they share their experience, they do seminars, training. So we try to combine both elements, fun and education as well.
But it's also, I mean, if someone's made it there, they've beaten a bunch of their peers in competition, and then they've made it there, they're going to be people that you're going to know. If you're a career bartender, they're going to be people you're going to know for a long time, and that shared experience is a massive bonus.
Absolutely. So that's why, we cheers, first of all. Salute. Thank you. That's why
This is delicious.
winning the local final is already a big deal about, being part of the Vero Bartender residency program. And then there is also the final prize for the global winner.
Yeah.
That I tell you later on.
Okay, well, I'm going to double check that the... Oh, can you see...
This is actually very good.
Can you press the record on it?
10 points.
Thank you.
Nick was okay there. Come on.
Oh, right.
Still a little bit on the count. Still on the counter. The technique, I'm gonna score it down.
So the competition criteria, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I forget. The competition is always about criteria. I used to lose
No
my
garnish
mind.
is like one of the drinks at Fire.
Oh, no, there's a garnish. There's a garnish. Yeah, custom garnish. Okay, so I can garnish it with a suggestion of rosemary, orange, or grapefruit.
Okay, so it's make your own garnish.
No, it's a suggestion.
Okay, so we need to
which would
choose
you like?
rosemary.
Rosemary. Would you like knowledge? You want knowledge?
Orange.
Orange? Would you like a big orange or a little orange?
A tasty orange.
Tasty orange. I'm going to go big orange. Big orange! See?
Brilliant.
Suggestion. You never garnished with a suggestion before?
Well,
garnished with a suggestion of awesome.
Well,
Only Dean Callan would come with such a beer.
Oh, did you know I found a song online that is like,
You so full of shit.
no?
No.
Number one bullshit guy.
oh my God.
Bartending though, just chat shit, make people laugh.
That's true, that's true.
You're right.
So,
Anyways, everybody should enter. Everybody should enter. And the deadline is, Rudi?
24th
24th?
of July for the UK, yeah. And then we're gonna do, autumn time, we're gonna do the final. And then
when is the final?
last week of October.
Last week of October, okay.
Yeah, and then there is that's already a good price, as we were saying, a good opportunity to meet new people, experience a bit of Italy, thanks to Amaro Montenegro. And then there is the prize for the global winner.
Which is super cool.
Okay, which is basically I'm gonna take the winner to BCB Brooklyn. So we're gonna spend a week in New York during BCB Brooklyn in 2023. So where we can hang around the restaurant bars, see the cocktail scene of New York. It's also gonna work behind the bar. Okay, during the show, our bar, the Montenegro bar, we're gonna have at the show. Okay,
yeah, nice.
And maybe a guest bartending or something like that. So we need to figure that out. But this is also to incentivize people make the people understand, the real deal. It is well, not the real deal, but we put a lot of effort, to try get them involved in terms of make them excited, and also don't forget about making them learn something.
I think it's great as well to for you to bring them to New York, having been there yourself, and be their cocktail concierge as you're taking them around. Showing them the bars.
That's the downside, you mean? Hanging around with me
Might be dangerous.
It's good.
Paparazzi,
That was one of my favorite things to do as a brand ambassador. Take people out and show them the town. Often you can't afford to put yourself in the position of someone who has a lot of expendable cash and can go to the bars and freely drink. Drink whatever they like, go into whichever place they have a nice meal. But doing it, even for just a few days, gives the bartender a better chance to have empathy with people who see their point of view when they are going into a place.
What do you mean?
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
100%. And also going out with him, it's you will never be able to make such an idea yourself, because you wouldn't be able to organize yourself. Okay, now we're doing this, then we're going this, then we have this amazing dinner experience, and then we're going there, because you might not even know all the places.
Exactly. Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, this has been loads of fun. I know you've got to set up for the next thing, and sorry for going too long on the story, but how would I have done with my cocktail?
Well,
look.
Imagine the suggestion was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. I think with any cocktail comp, it's always about understanding the criteria of the actual comp, because often people make amazing drinks, but they miss out, very valuable points.
I didn't mention Montenegro.
Whatever the criteria is, you need to make sure you tick all the boxes, because sometimes not ticking one box can cost you the first place. But anyway, today the winner is Dinkalan.
I'm the
one and only.
Thank you so much. Most innovative garnish.
Nice one.
It's the Amaro Montenegro BS competition, not the
Vero one, not the Vero Bartender.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well done.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Dean, and
Cheers,
congratulations.
thank you. Congratulations. And
Okay, cool.
before we sum up, can we share the best tips that you have, Dean, Alex, for bartenders regarding competition?
For me, one of my favorite things to do was to practice. I used to get, if my bartenders were entering in a competition or I was entering in a competition, I'd give them the criteria after work, make my drink for them as if they were the judges in the competition, and put things up, and they'd be like, hey, man, that took too long, or this took too long. And they would see, you'd have presented it a few times, so if you have a hiccup on the day, it's not so bad because you've done it a few times, you've got a routine down. That's, for me, number one. If you can't do that, that's fine. And number two, every single time you make the drink at home, you put the products in order that you're going to use them, and do it in the exact same order each time, so that when you're laying them out, you've done it a few times in your head, but you've done it the same way each time, so that when you're on stage, you got all your pieces, you got all your pieces, because you've done it so many times. You can run through it in your head really easily, and you know what you're grabbing next, rather than missing an ingredient or doing one ingredient twice, which I've seen people do. So that's my two favorite tips. And also, don't be nervous.
I think being yourself is really important.
Yourself,
if you're a serious person, be serious in the comp. If you're jolly and you enjoy smiling, do that.
If you're full of shit, talk shit.
Talk shit.
Exactly.
Use humor. I think showing vulnerability as well. It's a good way to connect with the audience and tell stories, because nobody wants to hear facts. But the way how you can really capture both the judges and the audience is by telling 3 stories, and that will help you to connect with the audience and went through the right points.
That's a good point.
From my point of view, it's don't overdo it. So again, be yourself. Practice is a very key factor, because the more you practice, the less nervous you are, the more confident you are, the less things you forgot. Of course, don't forget the, the sponsor into your cocktail.
Yeah.
Okay, it can happen. We know it can happen. Okay, but tensions can be tricky sometimes to manage.
Yeah.
And it's like don't take it personally. It's, don't take the competition too personal. We say like, yeah, it's a competition, so you need to be competitive, but don't take it personal, and leave it like an experience that teach you, how to improve yourself, how to get better, to meet new people, like piece of yourself that you're gonna bring on with you for the next for your professional life and personal life as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing to wrap it up. Don't use the comp only to move you forward professionally, but also use it to become better person, because that's the biggest gift any cocktail competition can give you for life.
Amazing. We'll finish on that.
In terms of practicing, I think we should finish on now. We're gonna link it in. Okay, we're gonna probably showcase the videos of Simone preparing for rematch the Biatch.
Do that. For Simone was in Rematch Biatch? Oh, he was in Oslo.
There are some videos.
Some videos.
They exist, some evidence.
Did he beat my time?
Which, if you win it, Rudi will show you those videos.
Exactly. I show you New York.
That's so good.
But that's a good example of practicing.
Yeah.
For your cocktail comp.
Oh, now I need to see it.
Everybody needs to see it.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Let you get ready.
Cheers. Thanks so much. Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Rudi.
This was a nice.
Cheers. This was delicious.
Very good.
Alex.
I love it.